Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward, Chapter 64. Kellen smiled to his wife, Irna. They kept their voices low, to keep from waking the two young women he had carried the rest of the way back to their camp. Kellen had managed to dissuade Heneb and Dolaran from exacting vengeance on the two women, if just barely. Even they could see there was little justice in killing unarmed, unconscious women. Never mind that one of them had put at least one of theirs in the ground. He had glossed over that last part as best he could. Kellen had only seen the two other men return from their original group of riders. If there were others, they were still out there somewhere among the wreckage. Things had gone beyond poorly. He could only guess how many they had lost. Who knew just a handful of guards could give them such problems? Kellen had hoped there would have been minimal bloodshed. If the guards had stood aside, they would have sacked the wagon and gone peaceably on their way. The owner of the caravan would have been given one warning, as was the customary rule. If they attempted to follow or make for the local militia, they would have been cut down to a man. But they would have at least had a path out if they had taken the warning seriously. Everyone in the caravan would have been left with a water skin each and would have been directed to wait a full day before making for town. That was the agreement given. That was how it should have gone. If they refused to see sense, well then they would have knowingly brought destruction down on their heads. Kellen made peace by that. He wouldn't have been able to sleep at night if he didn't make some kind of peace with their way of life. Everyone was given a fair chance, a choice. It was up to them to meet the rest of the bargain. Simple as that. But nothing like that had happened today. They had been met with violence upon arrival. Why hadn't the guards thrown down their weapons? They could have saved many lives if they had just kept their heads and their tempers. His wife Irna had gone to their other tent to watch their children. Little Island cried often at night time. He was barely 7 months old. Kellen had to watch out for his own family. No one could fault him for that. Times were hard, and with no work in the cities, he had turned to banditry a score of years back. He had met his wife raiding a caravan. She had been traveling to the far coast, and he had convinced her to stay with him. Those were good memories. No one had died that day. Times are worse now, though. People sometimes made rash decisions, choosing to fight instead of risk starvation. Their crew had gone in numbers over the last 2 years. Before today, they had been almost 20 strong, including the families of men and women who could ride. Many of them would now be widowers. Ranel had been sly and cunning, but too hot-headed by half, in Kellen's own opinion. This had seemed like an easy gamble, but they should have given way before too many were killed. Perhaps they could have taken a few valuables and let the rest of the caravan escape. Ranel had never truly known restraint. Kellen's eyes flicked over to the other tent where the women slept. He sometimes worried about his own restraint, but he knew it. He could see in his mind what was right and just, after a fashion. He would protect these women. It would be better if they stayed hidden through the night, though. He hoped Heneb and Dolaran had let go of their feelings of vengeance and hate. They had had good friends among the dead. There was good sense in not presenting any temptation to act on their hurts. Kellen's family had placed their tents a little ways away from the rest of the group. Ranel had no family, but Vassin, the wife of Ranel's right-hand man, would be weeping over the loss of her husband tonight. Kellen wanted to give them some peace, and let time heal their immediate hurts. Heneb and Dolaran were the lucky ones. 2 recent additions to their crew, they did not have families here. Kellen would have to keep watch to ensure they did not stray near his tents until their rage fell away with sleep. Pacing restlessly, Kellen stood for another moment before entering the adjoining tent and laid a comforting hand on his wife's shoulder. "Kel, the little ones just fell asleep a couple minutes ago. I think you did a good thing bringing those women to me. We can care for them better here than they would have managed elsewhere, save a town doctor. I know enough to keep the little one alive. The sword wound the other one suffered was a nasty one, though. One of the worst I've seen in a while. The woman was strong, but I don't know how much more I can do for her now. We can hope she doesn't get the blood sickness. If we're lucky, she just needs rest, and a lot of it. It's still too soon to tell. Maybe one of the other women in camp can lend me a hand. I've got my hands full just between our 3 children, Cal." I know you're doing your best, Irna, and you have a sweet heart for taking it on, love." The couple exchanged worried frowns. "I just worry about the other men. Some downright terrible things happened today. We lost more than half our number, and some of the survivors still have killing on the mind. I think their pride has been badly hurt, and that never mixes well with a killing anger. I don't think we should invite any visitors tonight. If the men approach, I can try to keep them diverted, but—" Irna nodded in agreement. "I know it, Cal. You are wise to keep them away. If they come searching for the women, I'm not sure what I can do to stop them. I will keep them away." Kellen nodded with certainty to his voice. "Be well, my husband." Irna held his hand close to her for a moment before kissing it lightly. She smiled in the dim light. Kellen held her close and put her head in the crook of his shoulder and lightly stroked her hair. "I will, my love, I will." Standing, Kellen moved to the entrance of the tent, suddenly wary. He wondered if he would get much sleep tonight.